I recently changed up both of these tanks. I've been planning to upgrade my 10-gallon Lucky Bamboo tank to a larger size, and I decided to take this opportunity to also create a new home for the Cherry Barbs. They were in the 29-gallon, but I recently turned that into the new Neon Tetra Blackwater tank. In this new 20-gallon build, we're going to create and secure a nice background of Lucky Bamboo. I want to show you the cool new lid that I made specifically for this tank. We'll take a look at the light that I'm using and which aquarium plants I chose. But first, let's begin this build with the water filter. For filtration, I'm using an under-gravel filter plate set up for anoxic filtration. It's helpful to attach the plates with hot glue, and since I'll be using a sand mixture as part of the substrate layers, I attach a piece of filter cloth or weed fabric to the plate to prevent sand or sediment from getting under the plate over time. I make sure to leave a space cut out of the fabric for one airlift tube. Now I'm only using one airlift tube to produce a slow flow of water through the substrate layers for anoxic filtration. After setting up the filter plate, I begin putting down layers of substrate, beginning with pea gravel, and then about a ½ inch or so of non-clumping, unscented kitty litter, and then a few scoops of fluval stratum and red fluorite, no precise amounts, just a few scoops of each, and then mixed the kitty litter, stratum, and fluorite all together. I capped this mixture with a layer of sand and pea gravel. After putting a little bit of water in the tank, I start setting up the Lucky Bamboo in the background. But some of them were too short to have the leaves out of the water completely and above the rim. So I thought, how can I secure these in place and keep the shorter ones above the tank rim? Now I can't wait to show you this. There are some very small accomplishments in life that just feel so good. And for me, this is one of them. I'm trying something a little different with a polycarbonate lid. I need it to do three things. First, to secure the bamboo, I cut out triangle notches along the entire back edge of the lid, and this piece will be more or less permanently in place. Second, I need, of course, a front lid for feeding and easy access for basic stuff. And thirdly, I also need to be able to remove the whole lid enough to get into the tank for cleaning and maintenance and things like that without messing up the Lucky Bamboo. So my solution was to make a tri-fold lid so that the front and middle pieces could fold back enough to give open access to the tank, while the back piece can remain in place to secure the Lucky Bamboo. And for the stalks that are too short, I used some cable ties to create temporary collars that are loose fitting but keep the bamboo suspended so that the leaves are above the tank. Now when the stalks grow tall enough, I can remove the collars and the bamboo can rest on the substrate and be tall enough to keep all of the leaves above the tank rim. I would like to think that solving the small problems in life can help give me the confidence to take on the bigger challenges. This was one of those days where I just needed a win, however small. I needed something to go right. And solving this little problem felt like a huge deal. So I am celebrating it. The rest of the Aquascape is just a simple layout, nothing fancy at all. I normally don't use fake driftwood in my tanks, but this is a piece that I've had from a former chapter of my life that's just been sitting around in the greenhouse, so I decided to use it rather than just let it collect dust. Water wisteria always grows well for me, so I'm sure to incorporate some of it as a background plant. The crypts that I moved from the 10-gallon tank were stunted. They just never did much for whatever reason. But I'm hoping that they will improve in this setup as a mid-ground feature. The other tank had loads of dwarf sage that I hope will carpet this tank over time. But I am leaving some of it long for now, just to add some height in the background. Now, I did not add the fish right away. I was going to let the tank cycle for about a week or so, but during that week of letting it cycle, a massive bacteria bloom occurred. I'm talking full whiteout conditions at its peak. Now, this has been a while since this has happened for me on a new tank, but I do remember the last time it happened, the best thing was to just leave it alone. Don't do a water change, just put an air stone in there, let the bacteria balance out over the course of a couple weeks. So what did I do? I did a water change, which only prolonged the process, made the bacteria bloom worse. I don't know why I had to mess with it. I don't know why it's so difficult to just leave things alone sometimes. And this tank is getting a brand new Hydro light. I did a review video on this model not too long ago, so be sure to check that out. In the review video, I actually demonstrated this light on the Neon Tetra Blackwater tank, because at the time, this Cherry Barb tank was looking terrible from the bacteria bloom. After the bacteria bloom balanced out, then the algae started ramping up. But that's not surprising. I always expect it in a new build. I've been keeping the lights on 6 hours a day, but I may need to reduce that for now. I think things will balance out, though, once the plants get established. I added some Amazon frog bit to see if that would help take up, excess nutrients and shade the other plants. But, in my experience, algae is just inevitable in a new tank, and it's just part of the process. I could try removing the tank light altogether and relying just on the overhead lamps that are for the Lucky Bamboo. These are low light aquarium plants, and it may be something to try if the algae continues to be a problem. After a few more weeks, the plants are all growing new leaves, the fish are doing well. Algae is still an issue, but that's okay. I'll just have to be patient, keep making adjustments as needed, and eventually this tank will find its balance. I am so glad that I finally got both of these tanks finished. If you haven't seen the build video for this Neon Tetra Blackwater tank, be sure to check it out now, and I'll have to do an update video pretty soon to show you how awesome this setup is going. I am loving it, and I'm so glad that I made this upgrade. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.